Truth doesn't win power. Perception does. You can be competent and still be ignored. You can be honest and still be distrusted. You can be capable and still be overlooked. Because people don't follow what is true. They follow what looks true. This is the uncomfortable reality that Niccolò Machiavelli exposed in The Prince. A leader must not only be strong, they must appear strong. And the dangerous part is this. Once perception is formed, it becomes more powerful than reality itself. We are taught to value authenticity, to be ourselves, to act with honesty, to let our actions speak for us. But in the world of power, that advice is incomplete. Because leadership is not just about what you do. It's about what people see you doing. It's about how your actions are interpreted, remembered, and repeated. Two leaders can make the same decision and be judged completely differently. One is seen as decisive. The other is seen as reckless. Not because of the action, but because of the perception around it. This is the layer of power most people ignore. The politics of appearances, where image shapes influence, where perception shapes authority, and where what people believe about you can matter more than what is actually true. In this episode, we break down how appearances control power, and why leaders who ignore this reality lose influence, even when they are right. People like to believe they see things as they are, that they judge based on facts, that they make decisions based on truth. But in reality, most people judge based on what is visible, what is repeated, what feels convincing. This is the illusion, because what is visible is not always what is real, and what is real is not always what is seen. This gap between reality and perception is where power operates. Think about it. A confident leader is often assumed to be competent, even before they prove anything. A calm voice is interpreted as control, even when uncertainty exists underneath. A strong image creates belief, and belief shapes behavior. This is not manipulation. It is human psychology. People simplify the world by relying on signals. Visual signals, behavioral signals, social signals, and those signals become shortcuts for judgment. Which means one critical thing. If you control the signals, you influence the judgment. This is why appearances matter. Not because reality is irrelevant, but because reality is filtered through perception. This is what Niccolò Machiavelli understood when writing The Prince. He observed that people judge leaders not by their true nature, but by what they can see, and what they are shown. Because most people do not have access to the full picture. They don't see your internal decisions. They don't see your reasoning. They don't see the pressure behind your choices. They see outcomes. They see behavior. They see presentation. And from those fragments, they build a narrative. A story about who you are. Whether that story is accurate doesn't matter as much as you think. Because once that narrative is formed, it becomes difficult to change. This is the danger of ignoring appearances. You may believe your work speaks for itself, but if your work is not seen, understood, or framed correctly, it loses its power. And someone else, someone less capable but more visible, takes your place. This is the illusion of reality. What people see becomes what they believe, and what they believe becomes your truth in their eyes. If truth is important, why does perception so often win? Why do people follow leaders who only appear strong, while ignoring those who are actually capable? The answer is simple. Truth is complex. Perception is fast. Human beings are not wired to analyze everything deeply. We rely on shortcuts, mental shortcuts that help us make quick decisions in uncertain situations. Psychologists call these shortcuts cognitive biases. And one of the most powerful is this: People believe what is easy to understand and easy to see, not necessarily what is accurate. This is why perception dominates truth. Because perception is immediate. It requires no effort. A confident tone signals authority. A composed posture signals control. A strong public image signals competence, even when none of those things are fully true. And once that perception is formed, something powerful happens. The mind begins to protect it. People start interpreting new information in a way that confirms what they already believe. If they see you as strong, they interpret your actions as strength. If they see you as uncertain, they interpret your actions as weakness. The same behavior. Two completely different conclusions. This is how perception shapes reality. Not by changing the truth, but by controlling how the truth is interpreted. This is why two leaders can take identical actions and receive completely different reactions. One is praised, the other is criticized, not because of what they did, but because of how they are perceived. This is also why reputation becomes so powerful. Reputation is simply perception repeated over time. And once established, it begins to work for you or against you. This is what Niccolò Machiavelli recognized in The Prince. He understood that leaders cannot rely on truth alone, because most people will never see the full truth. They will see fragments, signals, appearances, and from those they will decide whether to trust, follow, or reject you. This is why perception must be managed, not to deceive, but to ensure that reality is understood in the way it needs to be. Because if you leave perception uncontrolled, someone else will define it for you. And once that happens, you are no longer leading the narrative. You are reacting to it. One of the most misunderstood ideas in The Prince is this. A leader does not need to be virtuous at all times, but they must always appear virtuous. To many people, this sounds like deception. But Niccolò Machiavelli was not encouraging dishonesty for its own sake. He was describing a reality most people prefer to ignore. People judge based on what they can see, not what they cannot. A leader may be forced to act harshly, strategically, or even ruthlessly in private. But in public, they must still appear just, composed, and controlled. Because once a leader loses the image of virtue, they lose trust. And once trust disappears, authority begins to weaken. This is the balance Machiavelli was pointing to. Not hypocrisy, but presentation aligned with stability. Because leadership often requires actions that are not easily understood. Decisions that may seem unfair from the outside. Choices that benefit the system, but harm individuals. If those decisions are not framed correctly, they create backlash, confusion, resistance. But when a leader maintains a consistent image, disciplined, fair, and controlled, those same decisions are more likely to be accepted. This is the power of appearance. It does not change the action. It changes how the action is received. And reception is everything. Because people do not react to your intentions. They react to what they believe your intentions are. This is why Machiavelli emphasized qualities like mercy, honesty, integrity, strength, not because a leader can always act with them, but because a leader must always be seen to represent them. This creates a stable perception, and stability builds confidence. But there is a deeper layer to this strategy. Appearing virtuous is not just about others. It also protects the leader. Because once you are seen as disciplined and controlled, people are less likely to challenge you unnecessarily, less likely to test your authority, less likely to question your decisions. The image itself becomes a form of power. This is where many leaders fail. They focus entirely on being effective, but ignore how they are perceived. Or they focus entirely on being authentic, without understanding how that authenticity is interpreted. And in doing so, they lose control of the narrative. Because in leadership, it is not enough to do the right thing. You must also ensure that it is seen in the right way. This is the strategy. Not deception, not manipulation, but controlled visibility. Because in the end, what people see becomes what they believe. Just be yourself. It's one of the most common pieces of advice in modern culture. Be honest, be open, be real, and in personal life, that advice can be valuable. But in leadership, unfiltered authenticity can become a liability. Because leadership is not just self-expression. It is signal management. Every word you speak, every reaction you show, every emotion you reveal is interpreted, analyzed, assigned meaning. And not always in the way you intend. This is where raw authenticity becomes dangerous. Because what feels honest to you may look like weakness to others. What feels like transparency may be interpreted as uncertainty. What feels like vulnerability may reduce confidence in your authority. This is the uncomfortable truth most people avoid. People do not just respond to who you are. They respond to what your behavior signals. And signals are rarely neutral. A moment of doubt expressed openly can spread doubt through an entire system. A casual comment taken out of context can reshape perception. A visible hesitation can create hesitation in others. This is why Niccolò Machiavelli warned leaders in The Prince to be careful not just about what they do, but how they appear. Because leadership requires control, not just of actions, but of presentation. This does not mean becoming fake. It means becoming intentional. There is a difference. Being fake is deception without purpose. Being intentional is control with awareness. A leader may feel uncertainty, but chooses when and how to express it. A leader may experience frustration, but controls how that frustration is shown. A leader may have doubts, but does not allow those doubts to destabilize others. This is not suppression. It is discipline. Because in positions of power, your internal state does not belong entirely to you. It affects everyone around you. This is the cost of visibility. You are no longer just reacting. You are signaling. And every signal shapes perception. This is why the idea of just being yourself breaks down in leadership. Because leadership is not about being unfiltered. It is about being effective. And effectiveness requires control. Control over behavior. Control over communication. Control over how you are seen. Because if you do not manage your image will manage you. Others will define it, interpret it, distort it, and once that happens, you are no longer leading perception. You are chasing it. If perception shapes power, then one question becomes unavoidable. Who controls the perception? Because if you don't, someone else will. Every leader exists inside a story. A narrative built from actions, words, and visible behavior. But that narrative is not created only by you. It is shaped by what people say about you, how your actions are interpreted, how often your image is reinforced. And if you are not intentional, that narrative becomes fragmented, inconsistent, unstable. This is where authority begins to weaken. Because people do not follow confusion. They follow clarity. This is why controlling the narrative is essential. Not to manipulate reality, but to frame it correctly. To ensure that what you do is understood the way it needs to be understood. This is a principle that traces directly back to Niccolò Machiavelli and his insights in The Prince. He recognized that actions alone are not enough. Actions must be presented, explained, reinforced, because people rarely see the full context behind decisions. They see outcomes, and then they create meaning. If you do not guide that meaning, others will, and their interpretation may not serve your position. This is why effective leaders do three things consistently. 1, they simplify their message. They do not overwhelm people with complexity. They reduce ideas into clear, repeatable signals. Strength, discipline, control. These become the core of their image. 2, they repeat their identity. One action is not enough to shape perception. Consistency builds belief. The same signals must be seen again and again, until they become associated with you. This is how reputation forms. 3, they align action with image. If your actions contradict your image, perception breaks. Trust weakens. Authority becomes unstable. But when action and appearance align, the narrative strengthens. And once that narrative stabilizes, something powerful happens. People begin to predict you. They know what to expect. And predictability creates confidence. Confidence creates trust. And trust stabilizes authority. This is the real function of narrative control. Not deception, but alignment. Because the moment your image becomes unclear, people begin to question everything. And once doubt spreads, it becomes difficult to contain. This is why leaders must actively shape perception. Not occasionally, but constantly. Because in the absence of a clear narrative, confusion fills the space. And confusion erodes power. In Machiavelli's time, perception was shaped in courts, councils, and public gatherings. Today, it is shaped everywhere. Every platform, every screen, every interaction. The game of appearances has not disappeared. It has intensified, because visibility is no longer limited. It is constant. This means one thing. You are always being seen. And more importantly, you are always being interpreted. In the modern world, perception moves faster than ever. A single moment can define your image. A single statement can shape your reputation. A single impression can influence how thousands, sometimes millions, see you. This is the new reality of power. Not just being effective, but being visible in the right way. This is where many people lose control. They believe that good work will speak for itself. That truth will eventually be recognized. That authenticity alone is enough. But in a world driven by attention, what is not seen might as well not exist. This is why the principles from the Prince still apply. Not in the form of kings and kingdoms, but in reputation, influence, and visibility. Because today, everyone participates in the politics of appearances. Not just leaders. Everyone, every post you make, every message you send, every reaction you show, becomes part of your narrative, part of how others define you. And once that definition forms, it shapes how they respond to you. Opportunities, trust, influence, all of it is filtered through perception. This is why modern leadership requires something deeper than competence. It requires awareness. Awareness of how you are seen. Awareness of how your actions are interpreted. Awareness of how quickly perception can shift. Because in today's world, perception is not static. It is constantly evolving. And if you are not actively shaping it, you are being shaped by it. This is the modern game. Not just controlling outcomes, but controlling how those outcomes are understood. Not just acting, but being seen acting in the right way. Because in the end, the principle remains unchanged. People do not respond to what is true. They respond to what is visible. And those who understand this do not just operate within reality. They shape it. Power is not only built on decisions. It is built on perception, on what people believe about you, and how consistently that belief is reinforced. This was the deeper insight behind the ideas of Niccolò Machiavelli in The Prince. Not that leaders should deceive, but that leaders must understand how they are seen. Because reality on its own is not enough. It must be understood, framed, and presented. In the next episode, we explore another uncomfortable truth. Why loyalty is never permanent, and why leaders must always be prepared for betrayal. Because in the world of power, trust is never as stable as it seems. If you want to understand power beyond surface-level advice, subscribe to The Lonely Pen. Because this series is not about what sounds good. It's about what works.